Nya?
Nya? Nya?
Nya? Hello, and welcome to Halloween.
Hello.
Are you scared?
Are you?
Are we scaring you?
Nya?
I'm scared
Hello?
now. Hello.
Hello.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Where's the pumpkin? Show them the pumpkin.
Oh, come here, little pumpkin.
I'm a pumpkin. Can't
Not-
jump.
Not doing it. Sorry.
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 This is our little pumpkin.
This is he.
Nya.
Yeah.
This is Ursu Nya.
Ursunya Gray.
Mm. Pumpkin is a good name for a pet rodent. It is.
It is.
It's just a good pet name in general.
Yes. Sorry, gotta get my iPad hooked up.
Yeah, I gotta get the arts. Bones McNyaw. I'm a deer, but I've been a deer every day. I don't feel like this is a very Halloween outfit. It's just my regular everyday outfit. Bones McBones.
Yeah.
Nya.
We're gonna answer all your questions in yeah.
The real spook is that Bones wears a onesie every day. Yeah, I do. Pumpkin is my cat's name. Okay, can you turn things down in our ear holes a little bit?
Oh sure.
Oh, I just meant the desktop volume.
Oh.
Because I want to be able to hear myself talk. On the desktop, our desktop,
There's so many volumes.
that volume will just put it in our ears. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
There's
And
so many.
won't affect everyone else's enjoyment of the music.
Okay.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
Is Ursula super quiet for anyone else? Ursula's quiet forever.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll max out my
Yeah, max out your volume.
Is that
snuggle
okay?
up.
Hello?
Oh, now you're super loud.
Oh god. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah? Ursula, you're a cat. You gotta scream. Yay, audio. Yes, we got audio.
We do.
We got audio, we got cats, we got pumpkins.
Hell yes. Okay.
You know you resized the
I know.
thing on OBS as well.
I'm
Okay.
struggling.
Okay. Okay.
She do be struggling.
She didn't set it up right before the stream
No.
because
too
Bones
busy.
McKay was like, put some makeup on.
Put something on. You look like a corpse.
No, you look too human.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, you look adorable, they're saying.
Thank you. This brings me back to the Halloween where
Talk a little louder.
this brings me back to the Halloween where we went to a party with our friends and one of the couples brought their kids and their daughter. I think it must have been the first time she met me, but I was dressed like this, like as a cat. And so now when she left the party, she was like, I want to see Ursula again. She's a cat.
Is Ursula just really quiet for me?
Are you? Am I? Am I
don't
quiet for
know.
everyone?
Because I'm looking at when we talk on the volume. Like, look at the volume bouncing up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
you're
normal.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You're just really quiet in my ears.
Maybe it's because our stuff is turned down, but our
Okay.
audio is super
Okay.
high.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. Perfect.
Jeez.
Do you want to have your cat ears? What's wrong with you?
Bones is quiet one today. Yeah. Well, it's because I've been turned down because I messed with all of our settings.
Yes. Mute Bones.
Twitch streaming,
Yes.
doing Nuzlocke,
Mhm.
BS.
All the BS.
And also I was pretty quiet because my throat was killing me.
Yeah.
Now it's me who's killing my throat.
Mm-hmm.
My throat is slowly recovering.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I'm not in my best of bests.
No.
Quick question. I want to start live streaming art on my channel. How do you use OBS Studio with your iPad?
So I use it's a window capture of I guess like a third-party app called Reflector.
Yeah. Well, that's if you have Windows. If you have Mac, in theory, you should. It depends on if you have like a Mac computer that you'll be streaming off of or a
True.
Windows.
Yeah.
Because if it's a Mac, in theory, you should be able to do AirPlay. But if your computer is a certain age, it can't. And then I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I have Windows. Okay. Yeah, we use a third-party app called Reflector. You have to pay for it, but it's like a one-time payment. And a lot of the other apps we looked at were like subscription-based.
Yeah.
I just realized my period started on Halloween. A woo.
Oh, damn.
It is the full moon, a blue moon.
The moon cycle.
The moon
begins.
cycle. Spookiest part is luxury tax. Oh god.
Oh god, I'm sorry.
That do be true. Okay, I gotta get some water. You entertain them.
Okay.
Ask questions.
Yeah,
You're allowed to
guys.
ask questions. It's question fun.
We want
stream.
your
Sorry.
questions. Give us your questions about your comics, about your stories, about art, anything. You can ask us about us. We may answer. Look at this deer. Little kitty cat and deer team. I will. I'll give you all the oats you can find and some leaves. It may have been asked before, but how hard is it to make a plot idea for someone experienced? Like a first draft of it, and then do you know if it's ready to be drawn for a comic? Bones, because he's written like a bunch of comic scripts currently, he tends to do like kind of like a first pass at comics, and he can plot it out pretty easy. He uses outlining and stuff. And then he'll maybe do like some editing, and then it's good. And then he's done with it. And we send it off for me to draw. But it definitely depends on the person, because I'm sure some people will treat it like because when Bones is writing novels, he'll do several like passes more than he does with comics.
I do several passes on comics.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
The reason it takes you years to draw it, so it happens really slow.
Oh, true.
Like I'm gonna rewrite the last volume of Magpie,
Oh, I see.
but I usually just give myself years in between it.
Mm.
I guess I don't do as many passes on the first half of the comic.
Yeah.
I just try to get it as good as I'm at currently whenever I look at it. Do you prefer to make comics with more or less characters? Depends on how much I hate myself. If you're gonna make it with more characters, you just exponentially make it larger and harder to make. So if you want to get something done, keep it. Sorry. Keep it like 5 characters. Not even main characters. Like 1 or 2 main characters, 2 or 3 supporting characters, and then you should actually be able to finish that comic. Don't write Game of Thrones. Exactly. Game of Thrones isn't over. Like, yeah. Start small. Unless you starting small makes you not want to do comics at all, in which case go ahead, write your giant thing. But if you're open to writing something small as well, I'd suggest it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my god, so many questions.
Cool.
How do you decide whether an idea should be a novel or a comic? I usually feel it out. Like, I usually start with things as novels, just that's usually my basis. I'm trying to find a better answer than you can just tell. But, like, comics are things that you'll start to, like, write them, and you'll be like, wow, this is really visual. And in the same way, in the opposite way, novels are when you're writing something and you feel like you need a lot of internal thought. It's very personal, and it's difficult to represent like everything that the characters are like thinking and stuff. then I would definitely make it a novel. Like sometimes I'll be writing something and it's very wordy and I don't really have much visual interest to it. Like then I'll just make it a novel. I also will make things into novels when I know I just don't have time to spend years drawing this thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question. Who's ready for nano creative burnout? Hell yeah, same.
Hell yeah.
Any tips for character sheets? Ursula, go.
Character sheets. I'd recommend including a turnaround of your character. So I usually just do front, back, and side view, but you can add in like a 3/4 if that helps you with like keeping your character on model. I'd also recommend adding in some expressions so that you can see how your different characters express, because they're going to express different emotions in different ways. If you're having trouble with the turnaround, like keeping your characters like I guess on model on the sheet, you can put like lines between them. So like you want the head to be this tall, blah blah blah, and the shoulders here and stuff like that. So that'll help you. I'd also recommend making your characters very simple shapes so that it's easy to translate into different angles and views, and very simple designs, because that obviously makes it easier to draw once you're making your comic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Best way to publish short comics? I agree. Making an anthology would be a good way. If they all have kind of a similar like through line, like even if they're not related, if they're all horror comics, you could probably make an anthology, and that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Just collect them together, make them a series. You know, like things like Goosebumps and whatever. Like they're not related.
Yeah.
They're
true.
just like that's pretty common in horror, is to just collect a bunch of stories. Like you could title it something like very horrific or whatever, and then just do like single episodes on webtoons, and that'd be super legit.
Yeah.
What is Charlie sending me? Oh my god, he's adorable. Thank you. Yeah, an anthology would be a good idea. You make your first episode for webtoon. For example, how can you build suspense quickly? I want to do a horror comic. Well, suspense isn't really quick. I don't know. Suspense. It really depends on like what specifically you're writing. Like suspense is when you're waiting for something to happen, like at any moment. What is it? Horror is what's the difference between horror, suspense, and action? What's that quote? Yeah, horror.
It was something about like.
Wait, one sec.
Okay.
I need to find the quote.
Okay. I want rabbit.
It's so powerful.
Not a question, but I want to say I love what y'all do, and your videos are helpful compared to a lot of things you find on the internet. Aw, thanks for watching. I'm glad that our videos are helpful.
I can't find the quote, but it's something like, I don't know. I give up.
I know, like I have a vague idea of what it is, but I don't want to get it wrong and mess it up.
Just do it.
Just write out your script, and look at it after you've had some time away from it.
Love your videos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I start working on a comic if I'm not sure there's an audience? If you like the idea...
If you like the idea, someone else wants to read that idea.
For real. Like, just write what you want to write.
Exactly.
If you have something that feels more marketable, you can do it, but don't like purposefully try to manufacture something marketable if you'd rather be writing something else. Like, comics take too long to be making something you're not interested in.
Exactly.
Do you have any apps for creating comics? Because I'm at a loss of what to do. What do you use?
So I use a few different programs, and they're all good. I've used them at different points. So currently I use Procreate, which is on the iPad, just because I like drawing on the iPad. I've used Clip Studio Paint, which is really good for black and white comics and digital comics. And I use Photoshop for print comics just because I find it's easier to set up print files that way.
How many comic pages do you compile into one episode of Webtoons? I usually, like, because I have my script, I basically break things down into, like, arcs, honestly. It doesn't really matter how long they are. Like a scene or two, if they fit together. Yeah. And try to divide things evenly and provide the most, like, suspense for the next update. Leaving off your update on something like that leaves a question in people's heads, or like makes people being like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? I gotta come back. Like, that's usually where I cut off. But don't just cut off in the middle of things.
Yeah.
Unless that's kind of like how the scene ends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Need a prompt? I'm sorry, I suck at prompts. I'm slightly confused on how to start my webcomic. We have a million videos on that.
Do
you mean like how to start it? Because like I think the best thing to do is just write your script and see where your story takes you, because inevitably the beginning isn't going to fit with where you end up going. The first thing you write is never going to be like on point, you know?
Totally.
So like just write, see where you end up, and then see if you want to keep the beginning as it is or elsewise. Young writers tend to, or I guess new writers tend to, oh my god, there's a woodpecker that landed on our window.
Oh wow.
He's so cute. Goodbye.
He's very cute.
Sorry, I'm really distractible
so
by birds.
distracted.
Birds are just pretty.
They are.
What was I saying? New writers tend to start too late into their story. They tend to have a lot of just preamble that's unnecessary that you end up cutting.
Yeah.
It's important to write it if it gets you to a good point, but you need to eventually cut it. Advice for actually starting your first comic instead of letting the idea die, just keep going, okay? It really depends on what's going on with you personally, but if every time you write a comic you stop like at a certain point, you got to get over that hump, okay? Whatever's stopping you got to get over it, man. Okay, comics start to suck after a little bit. Okay, working on them, it gets very draining and you do start to hate things, but I promise you there is a light on the other side. It will become joyous again. You can't give up when it gets crappy every time. Unless, of course, you just want to write a million beginnings of comics and just have fun. Like, that is also acceptable. But if you really want to finish something, you got to push yourself to do it. Challenge yourself. Find some way to make it through your comic, okay? Whether that's making a smaller comic that's a more achievable goal or anything, you know? Just get yourself. What if you complete your story under 50,000 words? Do you just keep going? Yeah, you can just keep going. I wish I could complete a story in under 50,000 words. Actually, I used to do that all the time. That's a lie, okay? I used to write about 30K for Nano and then get kind of stuck with where to go. The answer was that I was underwriting my story and I didn't have a middle. So if you constantly write novels and they're like under 50K, you might need to be fleshing things out a bit more. In the end, like the fact that you finished a story from beginning to end, like that's A+, okay? Have you guys ever seen Perfect Blue? I have not. I gotta find this question. I'm going through them slowly.
I made Ursula giggle. Our depressions are collectively cured. You did. Aaron is not Shane enough. He's more Ryan.
How do you deal with coloring comics when every computer screen has a different color? My screen shows grays really vibrant, so in other screens, my art looks really dull.
Sorry, I totally missed the beginning.
Oh my
of
god,
that.
okay.
I'm so sorry.
How do you deal with coloring comics? Okay, that was the cue that it was about you.
Oh, I see.
Okay. When every computer screen has a different color.
Oh, that is tough.
And their screen tends to show grays as really vibrant.
Oh, that is hard. I tend to see, my problem is like I'm really spoiled because I use like Macs and stuff, which have like Retina screens, which show things very crisply and clearly. I know, because like anytime I've
Do you have a phone?
Yeah, if you have a phone, can you possibly send the image to yourself to test it? Because that's the only way I've ever done it in the past. Like when I'm working on designs at work, we basically grab like the crappiest monitor in the office and check like, do the colors look okay even on the worst screen ever that shows colors really weird?
You could also, the color picker would be your friend.
Totally. If you can find something that you know what the color looks like and color pick off that.
Because if you know it tends to be gray, like start looking at like your actual numbers.
True.
Like, could you maybe explain those kind of things?
Yeah.
That might be helpful.
So looking at the color picker, color wheel thing,
Yeah.
color gradient, when you're picking colors. So if you're picking colors that are kind of in this area, like the bottom left, everything over here is going to be gray. Like no matter how it looks on your screen, over in here, it's really gray. Whereas, so anything on the left, gray. Anything on the right, super vibrant. Top is really light and bottom is really dark. So if you ever are looking at something that's like way over here in the bottom left, it's going to be gray, even if it looks really bright on your screen. So maybe try pushing your stuff over to the right more.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to brighten it up a bit. You can also
I'm going through questions one at a time, so we'll get back to whatever you're saying.
Yes.
All right, next one. I think that's sufficient answer.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Can you show us how to draw a full body in perspective, and how do you keep it in proportion?
How to draw a full body in perspective.
Yeah, how do you do it, Ursula? Got some
Mm.
Ursula questions for once.
So my number one tip, obviously, is to study from life. So you should be doing life drawings and looking at real people to understand how real people look and are proportioned. The general rule is that everything is based off the size of the head. So if you start there, I think a torso is like 2 heads long. And then it depends on your style, I guess, but I think your forearm and your upper arm is each like a head tall. So like the elbow should be kind of in the center of the torso, and then it ends like at the hips. And then legs, I think they're about 3 heads tall. It's somewhere in there. Some of them I've seen, it's like they'll have it as like each leg segment is like 2 heads tall or 1.5. It totally depends on the person though, because people have different body shapes as well. And then if you want to put anything into perspective, break it down into squares. That is, and I'd recommend studying perspective in the first place and just work with squares because and cubes because they're the easiest to work with.
Everything's just a cube that you can shave down.
Exactly. So like if I'm drawing a person, so I draw my little cube, there's a circle in there. That's their head. And then I draw another cube, and that's their torso. And then I just stack all the cubes. So yeah, that's the really quick, basic rundown. But I'd really recommend just studying from life, because that's where you'll get the most, like, juicy, good knowledge.
Get some intuitive perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And you can always, like, draw how you think it looks in perspective, and then put guidelines over it and redraw it.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful. Hopefully that's a good answer.
Does the beginning of your comic have to start it with something interesting so it can catch the audience's attention. Yes, the beginning of your comic has to be interesting. If you're really famous, the interesting thing is your name attached to it at the very beginning of the comic. That'll make people read it. But that's what I was told. If you start your comic and you're like, oh, I am what's a comic person's name? I'm blanking. Who's the guy who did Watchmen?
Oh, Alan Moore?
Yeah, if you start your comic with by Alan Moore, people are probably going to read it. That's the interesting catching thing. But if you don't have any of that to go with you, you got to start your comic with something interesting. And since it's a comic, visually interesting, okay?
Yeah.
I find a lot of people forget that aspect of comics, that they're visual, okay? Start things visual, okay?
Yes.
And your prologue, if you have one, should kind of encapsulate what your comic is about, okay? And excite the reader. I only have examples from anime because I don't read comics. But Gurren Lagann starts off with like a spaceship battle thing going on, which is surprising. I think people forget this, but yeah, it has a little like hint at where things are gonna go.
Yes.
So that you're not like completely knocked off your ass when things go wild.
True.
Yeah, be interesting.
Totally. And interesting doesn't have to be an action scene.
Do you still use your Huion display tablet?
No, I actually haven't touched it in a while.
Yeah. What's your favorite couples out of your own stories? Damn.
A lot of them are good.
A lot of them are good.
Trixie and Amanda's pretty cute.
They are pretty cute.
They're pretty cute.
I like Lul and Aurora.
Yes.
I don't know if
Very
they're
cute.
a couple, but they're like friends who kiss.
They're like QPP.
QPP, yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's not really platonic. I don't know.
I
I
don't
like them. They're cute. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're a couple though. Oh, I like Dennis and Chris.
Oh yeah, they're
I
really
really
good.
like Dennis and Chris.
They're lovely.
Because I just love Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they're some of my favorite.
Totally.
Filthy cheaters. Am I the a-hole for cheating on my wife with a man who lives in garbage piles? Am I?
Imagine your comic as like an Am I the A-hole prompt.
Oh, I love those ones.
Yes.
If I publish my comic on Webtoon, can I publish it myself later, or does the platform own it now? No, the platform doesn't own your Webtoon unless you sign a contract with them, in which case you would be well aware.
True.
Okay, if you win one of those contests and you sign over your rights to it, then they own it. Then they're your publisher. If you're just posting it on Webtoon, you own it. You have the right to repost it wherever you heckin' want.
Yep.
If you see those things in obviously this isn't legal advice. I could be wrong. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but in the terms of service, they'll be like, we have the right to repost your comic or whatever. It's just that's in like every TOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives them the ability to put your pictures on Facebook when you post like a link to Facebook,
Yeah.
right? They can use your image on like a link to your comic kind of thing. That's kind of how that works. But you own it. They don't own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You own it. You can publish it. I do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Unless you have an exclusive contract with someone, you own it.
Mm-hmm.
If a comic is decent, when does it start to be recognized? Like number of episodes people are interested. You don't know.
You don't know.
Unfortunately.
You're just waiting for lightning to strike.
Yeah. Just keep at it, okay? you should be doing comics because they're fun, not because you're waiting for notoriety and people to
Totally.
like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do comics for yourself first and foremost, and hopefully some people will start to read it. Yeah. I'm
Like-
sorry it sucks.
I know. This isn't an exact number, but for us, it took probably 5 years before we
Yeah.
started getting tiny numbers.
Yeah, it did take 5 years.
Yeah.
Pretty Mouth was pretty close.
Yeah.
I think some of the best ways to stay motivated while you're waiting for people to read it is just to make other friends who make comics and read each other's comics.
Exactly. Just support each other and be friends.
Yeah. This is not really an advice question, but how long does it take you guys to make a comic page? It took me a week to make my first webtoon page.
A page for me probably takes 3 hours, give or take. It can take more if I'm doing a full color page. That can be 5 to 10 hours, but a black and white page probably 3 hours max.
I don't know if anyone talks about it much. Clean finished promo art should make, or if at all. Oh, how much promo art should you make? As much as you want.
Totally. Whatever you have time for.
I don't know the answer, honestly.
Yeah.
If you're making so much promo art, you're not making your comic, you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you're never making promo art, that's fine. Yeah. I'm sure you just doodle your characters. Half the time, the promo art is just us doodling. Us.
I mean, totally. I'll find comics where I just see people are drawing their characters being all cute, and I'm like, what's this from?
Yeah,
and I'll go look
totally.
and find it.
How do you do text for the comic?
Text for the comic. As in dialogue?
I don't know what you mean. Do you
Yeah.
mean writing it in or making the words? Have you guys ever watched Promised Neverland? I'm watching it, and my brother are only out in episode 3. I've never watched it.
Sorry, haven't seen it.
I don't watch anything that isn't a 911 call.
Or Gurren Lagann.
Okay. Evan, 8-bit. Stop asking the exact same question over and over again. Unless, you know what, they might have just been asking. I have an idea for a webcomic, but I don't know what to do now. Can you help? Do anything. If you just have an idea, literally anything you do now will be progress.
Exactly. You could
So your advice, Bones, is to be famous? Yes.
Yes.
That is the ultimate life hack for getting your book read. I want the base for drawing people as Minecraft characters. Correct.
Yes.
Draw everyone as a Minecraft character and then chisel out an actual person.
Literally. That's how I do perspective on complicated things.
Yeah.
On organic shapes. It's you Minecraft it and then you chisel out a little statue.
Exactly.
That must be so unhelpful as advice. I'm really sorry.
Do you like webtoons or tapas better? I like webtoons better
Yeah.
than tapas, personally.
Same.
Tapas tried to sneak in being your publisher into their TOS a while back. Yeah, Tapas is wild, okay? Tapas is a bit feral. Be careful on there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else hear of Song of Achilles? Never heard of anything.
I've heard of it.
How do you pace your comic and words without making boring in-between pages? If you're making a boring in-between page, get rid of it. Simple. Cut out the boring parts.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're integral, in which case they're not really boring. You don't have to show everything.
Yeah, that was one thing I learned early on in comics is if your characters are I don't know, walking from one scene to the next, you don't have to put them walking there. You can just show them at the place where the action starts.
Do you know a comic co-tab? Never heard of it. You don't need to link. It's fine. There's too much going on. I'm not gonna. I don't know. I just worry about pacing might be too fast. The best way to deal with pace is to have some time away from it and reread it. Like, give yourself a month or two between looking at your thumbnails and reading them with a script and like going into it. Pace is definitely very difficult, and it's definitely something you get a feel for. It's something other people can point out. When you have people read your scripts, have them flag moments that are boring, confusing, don't believe, and are awesome, because you don't want to ruin anything that is good. And if people are bored, it's usually because the pace is going too slow. If people are confused, it's usually because the pace is way too quick and you are skipping over necessary information to understand your story. Yeah. Pretty mouth, confusing.
Yes.
Pace, too fast. I like Webtoon, but I find it very annoying for creators. There's no notification system for new comments. Yeah, it's for real, but people can find you a lot better on Webtoon.
Yeah.
How cringy would you say your first comic was? 1 to 10 flying jack-o'-lanterns rating. It was hella crazy. It was pretty cringe. Pretty cute though. There's moments we cringe. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's cringe, but also pretty cute and humble and sweet.
I look back on our first comic and I'm like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah. Have a short comic I'm working on, but I'm unsure when to start uploading. I'm planning on inking everything first, but is it realistic to post while coloring, or is it better to be completely done?
The short comic?
If it's really short, I might just wait for it to be completely done.
Totally.
But it's totally up to you.
Yeah.
70 pages? If you're really like amped to go, I think you could start posting. Like if you've gotten like maybe 20 pages done. But like if you want to just finish it all, that's fine too. Do you have any coding experience when setting up a website for your comic? If not, do you still remember how difficult it was to learn? I have no coding experience, and my dad coded the site, and now he's dead, and I don't know how to do the website anymore, so it's just gonna die.
Yeah.
There's that answer. So yeah, you should probably learn how to do something there, or hire someone. I don't know. I just don't use it anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
People go to it, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's easy ways to do it. But I haven't figured them out. As far as coding goes, it's not hard. It's like the website stuff itself that's hard.
It's all the back end crap.
Like coding HTML and like CSS is pretty easy. Oh, thank you for the $5.
Aw, thanks, Giant Tall.
Pumpkin indeed.
Hell yeah, pumpkin.
Do you guys have normally based off I know you guys are normally based off of making webcomics, but do you have any animation experience? Very small amounts.
Very little. Tried it out.
What comics who are for adults, what are platforms which can host mature comics? Depends on what you mean by mature.
Yeah.
If you mean like sex stuff, just get an itch.io and promote on like Twitter and stuff. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard to find a hosting site.
Itch is a pretty good hosting site for that. For something like Berserk, I don't know. It's pretty hard. Like I find you can get away with like mature stuff that isn't sexual on like Tapas and Webtoon with a mature content filter. But I know you're going to run into a lot of troubles with one, finding printers that will allow you to print.
Yes.
And two, you're going to find trouble finding hosting sites that aren't your own. Like, you're either going to have to make your own site or, and yeah. Because I had a friend who did sort of an erotic horror comic, and there was like only one printer in the country she could find to print it. Yeah, you'd be better off just censoring it if you're willing to make that kind of sacrifice. Yeah. And really think about like why you're showing what you're showing too, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah. My name isn't even on the book. I was cheated. More donations like that and I'll finally be paid for writing Magpie. Oh my god. I better get a credit on your book. Otherwise I'm taking you down for copyright infringement. It's going to be a whole Omegaverse situation on your hands, June.
Oh my god.
Where do I post my comic? On Webtoons or Tapas? Just do both.
Just both.
You
see which one picks up more.
Yeah. When you're so small, like just don't worry about it. You know? You can't. If you have the ability to post everywhere, just post everywhere, man. Cast your net wide. And as you run out of time and sometimes like one is doing better, then you just give up on that one and continue where you're at.
Yeah.
You can't copyright dead children, McKay. I can and I will. My trope. Epic tip, don't post your art. Post on Tumblr. Tumblr's troublesome, but it's gotten better.
Yeah.
Any advice on promoting your comic outside of posting pages? Be interesting outside of your comic.
Yeah.
You can't always lead comic first, right? Like, we have a YouTube channel where we talk about making comics and things, and that's where a lot of people would be like, oh, I like these people. I'll check out their comic. So, yeah. That's how a lot of people promote. That's like the way things work now, is you kind of have a platform with a personality.
Totally.
And then you kind of like are like, okay, you like me, please read my comic, please and thank you, please.
Yeah.
And then promoting your comic, like you can do that at like conventions when the world returns to normal. Bookstores, whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'd recommend just like we were saying, like just post on social media, make friends, post your art.
Yeah.
Draw your characters.
Follow people. Get invested in the community. Do you have a general percent of amount of pages I should have as a buffer before posting publicly? Depends on how often you post. If it's okay, my advice for your very first comic is if you're going to post once a week, you want 52-page buffer.
Yes.
If you're posting twice a week, 104-page buffer. Okay, give yourself a year buffer.
Exactly.
Okay, especially if you're just starting, because consistency is pretty important when you start, and then once people are hooked, then you can like start being like, oh, you want your comic? Well, you're gonna have to wait a few months. That's what I've found works. 52 pages? Hell yeah. Because if you post once a week, 52 pages, that's a year of updates. You're good.
Also, yes, this is the HB pencil brush in Procreate.
Hell yeah. Have a year of updates.
Exactly.
That is my hot tip. I had a 20-page buffer and do wish I did more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, life gets in the way.
Y'all come at me like, oh man, I have 20 pages. And I'm like, okay, but wait until God, the winter happens. Summer, things happen, man. I'm gonna finish a tie-in 30 comic dab. Yeah. Yes, I heard your buffer number rec before. I started my comic and I was like 15-page buffer, close enough.
No. Oh no.
With censorship in print shops, do you think the shops refuse because of genre or how graphic the content is? It's usually graphic. Like a lot of people won't print like sexual content.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not something they want their store associated with.
Yep.
Which is, I guess, fine.
Where are erotic print shops? Come on.
I'm sure they exist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's an untapped market that's like gonna blow up, man.
Mm-hmm. Gonna open a sexy bookshop.
Because Iron Spike was talking about that when people were like, "Why do you still print smut comics when you're popular now?" And it's like, because the biggest genre, in all of like publishing is romance novels.
Yeah.
So the fact that you don't like tap into basically erotic comics for women, like that's a really good niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Want to make money? Erotica. Don't be a child though. You have to be at least 18.
Yeah, come on guys.
I'm gonna open a sexy bookshop. Valid. Well, the thing is, they're willing to pay because you can't get a lot of erotic comics easily because webtoons and tapas don't allow them. So you gotta buy them, and your audience is already older.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pay gate. Yeah.
So yeah, the pay gate is not scary.
Keeps it out
to
of
them.
the hands
Yeah.
of young folks.
Yep. It's true though. People really seem to enjoy comics better when there's stuff in it.
Art is superior in every way, even smut.
So self-publishing. Self-publishing is really good.
I love self-pub.
Yeah, self-pub is great. If you want to get into traditional pub, what is exploding is middle grade. So get you some middle grade pitches and talk to some agents. Try to get you a good deal. Clap, clap.
Hell yeah.
You ever look at a comic and you're like, comic on the shelves and you're like, I could do that. Like, yeah, you can. If you have comic pages to back you up, you just gotta put a pitch together. Middle grade is comics for like children. Like it's comics that kids read, like Bone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amulet.
Yeah, think like
Yeah, it's like introductory reading material.
yeah, it's like in novels it would be like Rick Riordan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Blech. Yeah.
Yeah.
Percy Jackson.
It's like the lead up to YA.
Yep, totally. That's where a lot of comics are big.
Mm-hmm.
The YA of comics. I also think YA comics are getting big too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're like coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Meows and moans. Oh my god. And the only reason I'd recommend going traditional with middle grade is like unless you're like invested, like middle grade you're not selling to kids, you're selling to teachers, parents, librarians, and if you don't have those connections it can be difficult. Whereas traditional publishing, they're already kind of locked into those things. Yeah, you want to be in bookstores where kids can see them
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just really difficult if you're not looked into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few friends who do middle grade books with like Scholastic and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of fun because you get an advance, so you get like you get a couple $1,000s in your pocket, and then you make your comic, and then you earn out your advance, and then every other book you sell, you start making money off that.
Yep.
And it's fun because you don't really have to unlike with novels, when you're pitching a comic, you don't need your script done. You don't need anything. You just need a pitch together.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
not
finish a few pages to kind of
Yeah.
show what it's like. You have a synopsis of what the story's going to be. Maybe a few sample scripts. Yeah. Advice on how to start the first page of a comic. Twonomics is an online erotica comic publishing thing, but I don't know if they let you self-publish on it. Huh. Twomix. I don't know. I'm in the furry erotica zone. That's where I pay attention to.
Oh no.
I know what the furry artists are up to, and they make hella cash, and they're all self-pub. It's very with erotica, I think you want to find a very specific niche, and you fulfill that niche. For comics that are more episodic, do you plan by ending that ties all the episodes together, or do you stop since there isn't an overall plot line? Yeah, you just stop eventually, right? Like, if it's just episodes unrelated, like eventually the TV show ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bones, I'm sorry. The most money I've ever made from my commissions was deaf furry artist. Yeah. That's where it's at, okay? Cries an ace furry. Oh, don't you dare, okay? I'm an ace, too, okay? Okay, there's like garlic bread aces and cake aces. Like, cake aces are the ones who are like, oh no, sex. And then there's like the garlic bread aces, and they're like, I see, monetizable, and they draw smut and make money. There's so many erotica artists who are asexual.
Yes.
They just vibing. One even tipped me after finishing his commission because he remembered he liked it. Yeah.
Aww.
Tipping is really common with ace. Not ace, sorry. With
The aces are here
no
to be tipping.
furries tip.
They do. Where does
I don't
the
want to
cake
draw the
garlic bread
things.
come
That's
from?
fine.
It comes from an old meme where it was like cake is better than sex.
Yeah.
And then it was like pie is better than sex. Now there's garlic bread for the
Yeah,
spicy
I forget about the
aces.
garlic bread one, where it comes from. But if the graphic content is stuff like horror, not risky adult stuff, do you know how cool a comic? Yeah, okay, if you live in America, you should North America. Yeah, graphic stuff is fine. You know,
Yeah.
graphic
violence is
blood
fine.
and violence, like no one cares about that stuff.
No.
Chop a baby's head off, no one cares. Have a consensual sex with tops off and floppy dongs, no, demonetized.
No. Get that out of here.
not in my household. No. Happy Ace Week, thank you.
Oh.
I ate my cake alone. That's my kind of ace. Can't tune in for long, but I was dropping in to say I like your stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
I'm sure your stuff is great too.
I eat my cake alone. That's my kind of ace.
Gay or European? Both.
A spaghetti ace?
Is Ace Week a thing? Yeah, it's Ace
Yeah.
Week.
It's ace week.
Ace party. Let's go. Oh my god, is Juliet dressed as a dragon?
Yes.
What a dork.
And Fairy is wearing a little, a little outfit.
Halloween and Ace Week. You said you loved me? How do I make a character that holds up the leader role? I don't know.
Can I join but in Demi? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Is Demi ace? Is
De-
Gray ace?
Demi's an ace spec.
All ace.
Yeah, all aces are valid.
Hello to my fellow Demis out there.
Yeah. Don't let anyone be like, Demis suck. Demis don't experience depression. Because I read statistics and trigger warnings. But like Demi and like ace people have higher rates of like suicide than gay and lesbian people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to diminish that, because that is
No.
also way above like heterosexual people.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
yeah, I was like, whoa. Sorry. I was like, whoa,
It's surprising.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
And workplace harassment and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'm
sure.
a fake ace, so no depression for me.
Listen. We accept all ace people.
I returned at a time, definitely. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. We accept all ace people, all arrow people.
Hit the mental health on stream bingo card. We did.
We did. Yes.
I ran out of questions. Okay, I got a question, but I didn't answer it. I'm really sorry.
How do you have a character fill a leadership role?
They're usually boring, honestly. They like you want to like a character that has gumption, wants to like progress the plot forward, is likable. Yeah.
They have good people management skills.
Can you imagine like having resumes for your characters where
Oh
you're
my
like
god. Yeah.
you're like I'm applying it for the antagonist position.
That's so cute. You don't have to like the leader.
It helps.
It helps.
It helps. A leader that is unlikable but necessary is very interesting. Yeah. For the writers. I've written enough, June, that I've learned that if you make unlikable main characters, people don't like to read them as much. It's a very select amount of people that like to read that stuff, and that's cool, and I think it's valid to go down that way. But it's a lot easier to write a story when someone's likable. I had to make Ro a lot more likable because he was awful. He was just
He's a butt.
obnoxious. Oh yeah, I didn't mean a main character. Yeah, okay. If he's just a leader,
yeah.
that's different. Like Giovanni. Pokemon. Thank you for answering. You said you would next stream because last time your brain was fried. You really do love me.
Aw.
I'm sorry. I was so rude. How do you suggest introducing new characters in a comic? Shoot them out of a cannon at your... Okay, sorry.
Bones. Stop.
My brain's feeling weird, guys.
Oh no.
Please don't put me in anime jail. Giovanni is not necessary. Giovanni has a cat, so he's 100% necessary.
100%.
Introducing new characters. That's just such a broad question as part of the problem. Like, is it like a new character completely to the story, like chapters in? Or is it like early on in the story? Like, that's what I mean. Picard is the best leader. Picard's pretty good.
Isn't like...
Boring main characters is why I'm so picky about YA novels. They're also boring and stuff. Yeah, but that's just because of... It's a very popular genre. and the self-inserts are a real thing, and they're not a bad thing.
I find
A lot of people don't like self-inserts, but tons of people actually love them, and I think that's valid.
I find like sometimes, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I find sometimes when you're in a character's perspective, they come across as more boring than the characters around them.
Yeah.
Because they're not like a mystery to unfold.
Totally.
Whereas like, if you say that the book was written from a different character's point of view, you'd probably find the main character interesting. Maybe that's just me.
Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Wasn't Scott Pilgrim supposed to be really unlikable? I think so. I mean, he was dating a high schooler.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah. Main characters are boring, particularly YA, because they're easily, you plonk yourself down into their shoes. Yeah, and also, like, YA, they tend to be very special and powerful, and it's a power fantasy.
Yeah.
And I feel like half the reason people get mean to YA in particular is because it's very female.
Yeah.
And not as many people get mad at like male power fantasies, but as soon as a teenage girl has a power fantasy, oh no, how boring is she?
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at like...
Sorry. Now we're into the feminist rant portion of the bingo card.
Check off your bingo slot. Yeah. No, I was going to say, it's like there's so many epic fantasies I've read where the main characters are boring ass old men who I don't care about.
Young boy, Aragon, Luke Skywalker.
The
Like, I'm not even saying
boy.
they're bad characters. I'm just saying, why don't we complain about these as much as we complain about, like, Rey?
And Bella.
And
I mean,
Bella.
Bella's pretty boring. But...
Bella's pretty boring, but I love Bella. I like movie Bella.
Movie Bella's
I
great.
absolutely love movie Bella.
Now we're getting into our love of Twilight. Is this another bingo square? Yeah, Bella Swan.
Project myself onto me God. I bully myself inserts. Oh my god, Sam.
How dare you? Her actor's a fantastic lesbian icon.
Bisexual icon.
Sorry, bisexual icon.
Movie Bella's so cheeky. I love movie Bella. I love her pained look.
I know. Oh.
I love how like sick everyone looks in Twilight constantly.
It's true.
Oh my god, Jacob is the worst character though.
Yeah.
I hate Jacob.
Yeah.
I like that the way to get like to fix Jacob was just to make him like so horrible that no one would want him. Ugh, Jacob is so bad.
Oh yeah.
I am not on Team Jacob. He's so bad.
Everyone in Twilight needs a multivitamin. Oh, I would love a movie with Dakota Johnson and Kristen Stewart. That'd be the best.
F for Jacob's actor though. Yeah. Yes, please dump Jacob. He's so controlling. Like
Right?
like everyone talks about like Edward being abusive because he watches her sleep and all that stuff. But like Jacob like gives me like he's gonna murder her at some point vibes. like he reminds me of like every single like domestic abuse situation like I read about on like Reddit.
Oh god.
Like doesn't he?
A little
Like
bit.
he's like Bella is clearly into Edward protecting her and stuff. Like she's clearly into that and she likes him doing that. And she doesn't want to be apart from him. Like she finds that protectivist nice. But like with Edward, with Jacob, she doesn't want it and he forces himself onto her constantly.
Yeah.
Edward is just boring and a little awkward. Jacob has a baby voice and throws stuff around when he's mad. Totally. Edward is creepy, but at least he gave chances for her to get to back out. Like, that's what I mean. It feels like I used to like Jacob because Indigenous rep was when I was younger. No, I hate how badly they did Jacob
Totally.
dirty, right?
For real.
Like, I think Jacob would have been a great character, and they ruined him.
Because he was like, I remember really liking him when he's first introduced, because he's like just a sweet guy.
And he's looking out for her about Edward.
Yeah.
Because it feels like Edward's more abusive in the early parts of the story. And like Jacob, like, I know, like, the werewolves are cool and all of that, and Taylor Lautner is actually white. Yeah, that's not good too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, it was all bad all the way down.
Yeah.
Sokka better than Jacob? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like, I felt bad for Jacob, but then, like, it's just so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then he imprints on a baby.
Right. Well, the whole imprinting thing was just like,
Oh my god.
ugh.
Oh god, the
Stomach
whole
churning.
werewolf section is so sexist and gross.
Yeah, that too.
Oh my god.
Goodness.
I just like Edward and Bella because, like, they're toxic, but they're kind of like perfectly toxic for each
That's
other.
true. They're made for each other. And how weird and toxic they are.
Like, you can, like, I just feel like they're consenting to this weird relationship that they're in.
Yes. They're both so into it.
Like, everyone complains about Bella being passive and wanting her to be a more active character, but it's her choice to be passive. Like, she constantly just wants to do nothing. Like, that's her goal, and I think we should stand Bella's right to do nothing and have a hot vampire take care of her.
Is
Like,
that,
if that's her dream, she can live it.
right? Oh my god. Can we get some accurate to wolves werewolf culture, please?
Oh my god, yes. Wolves are so wholesome in the wild.
Right.
Bones, a question that came to my mind because of Twilight.
Please ask.
They deserve each other because they're so petty. Yes. I just kind of love them together. Any tips for writing dialogue that conveys strong character voice without making the character a single note character? You know what is actually a good example is Avatar. Avatar, everyone comes off as very one note at first, but as you get to know them more, like, they flesh out as characters. Like, everyone has a very strong voice. I think the fact, like, characters will tend to feel very one note, but as long as they all have a different note and you flesh them out, it's going to be okay. Like, I think it's a pretty unanimous experience that people watch Avatar and initially don't like Sokka, and they're just like, oh my god, comic relief character. But as you get to know him, like, he's got so much depth and he goes so far and stuff. Yeah. Usually movies based on books thing up in the movie Anna is better than book Anna.
Are we talking about 50 Shades here?
Oh yeah, movie. I love the 50 Shades movie, but I hate that it's 50 Shades.
Yeah.
All of the water tribe has healed my heart. Yeah. No, Avatar is really good at, like, fleshing characters out. Honestly, cut my hair to match Sokka. That's amazing. Yeah, Sokka's a really good character.
Hell yeah.
Hi, I just jumped into the stream. You're just drawing Sans Undertale, right?
Clearly. Yes.
BRB. See you, June. I'm just vibing to these bops.
Yeah.
Who's this sad boy?
Asler.
Aw. Assy. Assy, why are you always so sad?
He's having a hard time. Okay. It's hard to be the king.
You still need to design Selene.
Oh, you're right. I know. What should Asler's Halloween costume be? What's he sad in?
One more reason to rewatch Avatar? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I like it when Sokka got some self-esteem finding a sword because he didn't have bending and everyone else did. He should be a cat boy. You can't be a cat boy. There's no cats in Avo.
Oh, you're right.
Fox boy.
Fox boy.
Oh, his fox should be dressed up.
Oh yeah, little fidget.
Do 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 do. The feeling when you want to draw more ambitious drawings but don't know what to draw. Make him a fox boy and make the fox boy dress up as a human.
Yes.
I don't know why, but the Iroh was a war criminal thing is funny because they don't have the Genova conventions. I really like Zuko. I used to think I had a fictional crush on him, but turns out I didn't know what attraction really was, and I just related to him and projected myself on him. Isn't that a mood? He's pretty, though. It's true. I'm saying this as 16-year-old me, not as 26-year-old me. It's so hard as you age and all of like your crushes as a child are now children, and you're like, I like them like as a child and I still have a fondness for the character, and I'm sorry. I mean nothing weird by this, please.
Please.
Ursula's focused. I need to take a break from talking for a bit because
Oh,
I've been
heck.
talking pretty hard.
Oh no. Do you guys have any more questions to ask? Ask away. I felt it when he was yelling at the sky, crying out. Hell yeah, powerful moment. Hey, June. Best webcomic apps to use? Tapas and Webtoon, I guess. It's the ones I used. Haven't really explored past those. When I was younger, I watched the show for fun. Very good. Do you know of any comic challenges? I'm scared of the 100-day one. That is fair. 100 days of making comics is very intense.
Why don't you do a comic challenge for Nano? It starts tomorrow.
That's true. You could do...
Make your own challenge and just hang out with the Nano crew. Be a rebel.
Exactly. You could write a comic. You could try drawing, I don't know, 15 pages or something in a month. That's a good challenge. There used to be, I don't know if it still goes, but I remember someone a while ago tried to kick off like a graphic novel in a month challenge. But I don't remember what the page count was and stuff, and it didn't really pick up anywhere as far as I know. There's also like, you could do like the 24-hour comic where you make 24 pages in 24 hours. That one's fun. Makes you tired as heck. The rat was scared of the fireworks. We made him a nest to huddle in. Oh, baby. How do you feel good enough about unskilled art to start your comic? You're always going to feel like your art is bad. I would say just start your comic and you'll learn from it. You'll learn like all the comicking skills while building up your art skill. So just start. You're always going to feel like it's crap. Just do it. Because sometimes I look at my artwork and I'm like, it's bad. Like, and I've been making comics for so long. So like, it's always there. You just gotta do it. And like my old comics that I think look terrible, people still read them and like them. So it's fine. How do you translate an idea into a story and put it down on paper? You write it out. I'm planning on doing a journal scrapbook story for NaNoWriMo about an elf who's trying out recipes and makes friends through that. I'm not sure how to convey the character's personalities.
More questions, guys.
Can't help you with the writing one. I know visually you can, it helps to kind of, I find it helps to write out what their personality is and go from there when I'm, say, like, designing a character.
Reagan, I have seen you here long enough. Write comic, doesn't matter how you do it, okay?
True.
You got
Just
your
write it.
idea and just start typing. It's easier to write something when you... It's easier to fix it once you got it, okay?
Totally. You can't fix it until you have a concrete thing that's in front of you.
Yeah.
You can't just think it into being perfect.
Yeah. Just right.
Just write it.
Busted. Yeah.
My comic stamina is so low, but the only thing that's ever helped improving was doing it. Yes.
What's your fave way to break comic panels to make them interesting? Magpie.
Yeah, we have a comic that has like an elder god character who just like messes with panels and makes them weird shapes and stuff and like pops things in and out of them. So that's always fun. And I like using the background as panel outlines. That's always cool.
I buy bath bombs.
Heck yeah, get some bath bombs.
Sorry, I'm getting so tired, guys.
Aw, it's okay. How long have we been going? Oh, an hour and a half.
Eagle. Sorry, not an eagle. Like a hawk or something? Okay, I need to figure out what that bird was.
Okay, there's a bird outside. Why is finding anatomy back references so hard? I don't know.
Audubon.
There are comics from 10 years ago I still reread, and I'm sure the artists hate them now, but I keep going back. Someone's gonna find what you do charming. Exactly. There are tons of comics I read that maybe the art isn't like, I don't know, the best. Technically the best, but I still love it. Art question. What's... Oh, sorry. We already read that one about breaking panels. Man, I wish these challenges took place in the summer. My uni assignments could never... For real, I find there's like so many challenges during October and November and no other time. And I'm like, hello, what about the summer when there's nothing to do? I've been practicing my drawing seriously since middle school, and I still feel nervous about drawing a webcomic. You can do it, Tuesday. You have lovely art. You just gotta sit down and do it. There's a Nano Camp challenge in July. There is. There is. How many episodes should be in a first comic? However many you need to be. It totally depends on if you're doing a long comic or a short comic. There's no set rule. What program you use for drawing? Currently I'm using Procreate on the iPad, but I've also used Clip Studio and Photoshop. Stay tuned for June. I would participate in a challenge called June. It's easier to combine words with October and November. I guess so. I guess June and July and May are hard. Well, I mean, we have Mermay.
I still have no updates on what this bird is.
Oh, okay. It's a mysterious bird passing through.
Yeah. What's that? It's not gonna be any good options.
How do you stream on iPad? We use an app called Reflector, but that's only on Windows. If you're on Mac, you can maybe use Sidecar, but it depends on your Mac. Don't worry, I'm the bird. I knew it was you.
Ring gull, no. Canada goose, no. Robin, no. Mallard, no. Herring gull, no. Red-tailed hawk, no. Sharp-spined hawk, no.
Any tips on dealing with doubt when writing an own voice story? I'm nervous about being problematic or stereotypical when I'm talking about my own feelings.
I mean, you probably will be.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel it happens to a lot of own voices creators where people will call you problematic or you've written it wrong. Like I know so many authors who are like say they're like trans, and people will be like, clearly you did not get sensitivity readers and are a dumb cis person writing about trans stuff, and they're like, no. Incorrect. But yeah, so you're always at risk for that, but I'd say just write what feels true to you.
This bird was so mysterious, guys. I don't know what it was.
Mystery.
I feel like it was a hawk of some kind. Or a falcon. Maybe a merlin. See a lot of those.
I'm content with my art style, but I still need work on drawing scenes and stuff. You gotta just jump in and do it. You're not gonna get better at it unless you start.
I give up. I saw a fox the other day. It was like a foot from me.
All right.
We startled each other. I think I was just walking down the road, and then it suddenly noticed me, and I suddenly noticed it, and like it walked around me very slowly, staring at me. Like, you gonna do something? And then as soon as it was kind of close, it zoomed. It was close to the bushes. It zoomed away. Do I have a page? Do you have to be a patron to ask a question? No.
Nope.
The fox was making its way downtown. It's true.
Also,
And then it made friends with like a bunch of cats.
hell yes, little Halloween cats.
Yeah, they were Halloween cats.
Any advice on writing characters with
Hello.
other ethnicities and sexualities than yourself? Do lots of research and get sensitivity readers.
Yeah, but don't be obnoxious about getting researched.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't just like expect everyone within whatever minority group to be like ready to talk to you.
Totally. They're not there to answer all your questions for your own gain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best way to attract readers to your comic?
Wear a cool hat. We kind of answered that before. You just kind of need a platform elsewhere.
Just be an interesting person.
Have a cool dog.
Yes.
Post lots of pictures of your dog.
Yes. I will follow people for their cool dogs and then read their comics.
Draw fan art. That's something people tend to do.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Get a dog. Yeah. Build a social media platform. That really helps.
Yep.
Any websites you use to get reference pictures?
Google.
That's a good site.
If
you want to trace things, you go Wiki Commons, and then you're like legally can trace them.
That's true.
Public domain.
Public domain stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I generally just kind of Google what I need and then use it as reference, or I'll take pictures of myself.
Yeah.
In weird poses. Or sometimes I'll look up things on YouTube. Like if I'm like a sword fight, I'll look up people sword fighting on YouTube.
Oh, you don't have Halloween? I love costumes and spooky stuff.
Aww.
I asked, well, at least, Andy, you're not alone because everyone's stuck inside with their spooky stuff.
That's
so
true.
you can just be spooky all alone like everyone else this year. I asked a friend a year ago to check a name in her... Wait, okay, read that. I don't know what that says.
I asked a friend years ago to check a name in her for me.
Oh, her language.
Oh, I see.
I still think about it to this day if I was overstepping.
Oh no.
even though she said it was fine. Yeah, just ask. Just be like, hey, I'm writing a thing. Would it be okay if I ask questions instead of just going straight into asking questions?
Yeah.
Also, don't just like appear out of nowhere and just
Yeah.
be like, hello, trans person. I see that you are trans. I'm writing a book. Like, don't do that. Like, if
Yeah.
you're talking to someone and you're like, oh, you're trans, would you be able to help me look at this stuff? And also, you can pay them.
That too.
Paying sensitivity readers is good.
Yes.
I think there's sites for it. I don't know. I'm kind of dumb. How do I start out as a comic book artist? Like, how short of a story does it have to get better at a comic writing and art style? Also, what should I post about my comic but not give away the whole story? Ursula, answer.
Oh, good lord. If you haven't done any comic stuff and you're getting into it, I'd recommend making some really short stuff, I guess. Like maybe like a little 8-page comic just to kind of get a
Wait,
feel
was
for
it a seagull? I think it might have been a seagull, guys.
Oh my god, mysterious bird. Yeah, you can make like an 8-page comic. You can make
seagull doing here?
even smaller comics, or you can make a really
Sorry,
long
hard
one.
frick.
There's no hard fast rule of how long it has to be. And as for like what to post about your comic without giving away the whole story, like for a summary, you probably want like your elevator pitch, so that'll be something you can say like in a sentence that describes kind of your comic. And yeah, like I don't know, just what's like the most interesting premise for your book without telling the whole story. Like it should be short. People aren't going to read like a huge description. Am I allowed to ask questions related to webcomic production? Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, bye, Andy.
Bye.
If anyone needs a sensitivity reader for autistic characters. Oh, okay. Tuesday is happy to help. Random, but I hate that leaving character sexuality unspecified. People either take it as confirmed straight or confirmed gay, and the writer was a coward or something. Like, there's nothing wrong with leaving a character's sexuality unspecified. Like, that's fine. But you do run into the danger of people taking it and running with it and putting whatever they want on it. The problem with it isn't when someone purposefully is like...
The problem is when writers purposefully don't like have any characters discuss their sexuality. Like, it is a bit of a writer's problem.
It's
pretty close to like queer baiting, like in some instances.
basically...
And other times it's like trying to avoid censorship.
Totally. It can be really frustrating when it's like they're clearly queer baiting and putting in like a gay character to entice the gays to pay them, but not saying it outright so that the straights don't notice and get upset.
Or worse, to just get teen girls.
Oh yeah, or just to get teen girls to watch it. But yeah, so that queer baiting is really frustrating. But there's nothing technically wrong with like leaving something ambiguous. Do you have any advice on working on a comic within a group of people? I'd recommend setting deadlines so that contracts really help when working in groups, even if it's just like your friends. Like when Bones and I started, we had a little contract between each other. Totally. Just what happens if you split up? if you're making money off your comic, what happens, who owns what, that kind of thing really helps. And setting deadlines helps, just so that you don't have someone who's like, oh, I'll work on it later, and then they just don't because it's not their priority. And just good communication, like any relationship, is good. One of my comics is episodic, and it's a good place to start, but I run into roadblocks where I don't know what else to do. That's tough. Introduce pan people by having them smooch 10 different people in the first scene. That is the only correct way to do it. I think it's when you claim it's rep and want credit without putting yourself out there. Oh yeah, that's like a whole other problem. Yeah. More poly ships in fiction? Yes. We need more poly rep. Yeah, Bones is in this little deer onesie. That's his Halloween costume. That's what he wears all the time, but it's fine. Bones is wearing a onesie. Romance comes up in typical conversation too, even just in jokes. More poly rep that isn't the one fairy story. Yeah, that fairy story sounds problematic AF. I'm more talking. I know characters that don't have anything because there's zero romantic story around them, so they don't want. So it wasn't thought of in the first place. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it really depends on the story we're talking about here. But like, for example, like your sexuality. Oh.
No, I want your coat. There.
Thank you. Go kiss from a deer. Because if you're gay or straight or ace or anything, hi Bones, it impacts your life in more ways than just who you're romantically involved with. So I say it's a good thing to consider when rating your characters, but obviously not every story. You don't need to go into their sexuality. I don't have romance. I'm not going to include sexuality. I mean, guys, you could have characters.
Everyone has a sexuality.
Everyone has a sexuality, regardless of if they're in romance or not. You can have an adventure story where there's no romance involved at all, and you can still have a gay character in it. Guys, come on. There are only so many plots you can do with pet rats. Even if they're anthropomorphic. Oh, right. You're gonna read that series someday, Ursula. I won't even have to force you. The curiosity kills the cat. Exactly. I'm gonna read that fairy story one day. And we'll scream about it. Bones, you got awesome moves, man. You do. How many panels is too many panels? When you can't understand what's going on. Like they're so tiny because there's so many panels that you can't read it. It depends. You can have a page that has like 25 panels on it and it can work. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. Hi, buddy. Hi, Lear. What's your costume? Hungry? Is that your costume? Prisoner. Oh. Snuggle. Oh, thanks, Clan. LGBT people exist. Exactly. Is it bad to use other comics as references for panel and page layout? You can get into some hot water for doing that. Depending on how much you lift from it. I think it's fine to use to learn from comics that you like. Like I will look through comics and be like, oh, I really like how they laid out this page. I may do something similar to that. But obviously tracing someone's work is bad and can get you into trouble, like legally and stuff. You can take inspiration, but I wouldn't copy anything. You know? Walk that line. How do you decide your panel shapes? It's one thing I always get stuck on. Generally, with panel sizing, it's important to... I usually go with sizing first and then figure out shapes. Hi, Fido. We got our jack-o'-lantern. We scooped out his insides. With panel sizing is usually what I start with, and then I figure out shapes. So panel sizing, the larger a panel is, the more time people will spend looking at it, whereas a smaller panel, people will read it more quickly. And then with size or shape, I think generally rectangles and squares can do the job. If you want to do something that like Fado. Feral pumpkin.
He's upset because the neighbor kid keeps hanging out in the house.
How dare she hang out outside? Don't you know children? Oh. Children should be indoors at all times. Fado. He's hiding under my legs. What was I saying? Oh, right, shape. Panel shapes, you can do fun things too. It really depends on kind of what you're intending to do. I'd recommend kind of trying to figure out like what is this panel trying to say, and then you can do like a funky shape if it works for it. Or you can just have fun and experiment and see what looks cool. I'm a panromantic person who hasn't dated anyone in almost 5 years. It doesn't mean my romantic attraction stopped existing. Exactly. It's like how like bi and pan people, if they're in a story and they fall in love with like, say they're like a woman who falls in love with a man, it's like, oh, they're straight now. It's like, no, they're still bi. How much time should a creator spend creating storyboards? And how detailed should they be? Aw, thanks for watching.
Hello, I'm back.
Hey. So for your thumbnails or storyboards, whichever one you want to call them, I find they can be very time consuming because I'm doing a lot of thinking about like what I want my composition to be, and sometimes I have to redo them a bunch. So I'd recommend like when you're actually drawing a single like page thumbnail, do it quickly and iterate on it if it needs to be changed. Don't sit there like agonizing over it. I mean, sometimes you do, but try to keep it quick and draw small and use stick figures and squiggly lines and circles and shapes and stuff. Like, don't draw a fully detailed page because like the whole point is just to figure out the layout of your page. It's not to have like a perfect piece of artwork. So yeah, I'd keep it quick per page, but obviously sometimes you have to sit there and think it out and redraw it a few times. Oh, bye, Clad. I know someone in my neighborhood will be like, no candy if you have a mask.
What?
Oh my god. It's Halloween. You're supposed to wear masks. But also wear your mask. I make a lot of characters that are explicitly not straight, but don't label them, and I feel like that's bad. You're not bad for not having a label. I keep making points about like erasure and queerbaiting and stuff, but it's fine to not have labels or have characters who don't have labels.
It's more a problem if you systemically don't have, not systemically, but like if you look at the majority of your work and you all of your characters are like, I don't do labels, like that is a problem Because in real life, there are people who don't do labels, like they don't like labels.
Yeah.
But you end up neglecting the fact that a large amount of the community finds a lot of comfort in labels, and it is important, and it does say a lot about their experiences, and it is important. And when you look at the larger scope of media, things like asexuality, they don't get labeled, you know, and that leads to a large amount of erasure constantly. And you need to think to yourself, like, is it important for me to have a character that has no labels, or is it more important that I start using the language of queer people and like giving them like the power to own those characters too? Because like saying things like having a character just say like, oh, I'm asexual, like it means the world to ace people, because now no one can take that character from them. No one can be like, well, they're not actually asexual. And if they do, like, you know, they don't have any legs to stand on.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that's not to say you can't have a character who doesn't have labels.
Yeah, it just means if you constantly do that, if every single one of your queer characters, you're just like, oh, they don't do labels, like, then you're doing a disservice, okay? And not every person is like that, and there's a lot of people who aren't like that. And I think the experience of not wanting labels is an important one,
Yeah.
but it's an oversaturated one currently.
Yeah.
And if you have the power to give a voice to this kind of stuff, it's very important. Like, we can't just constantly have non-binary people that, like, okay. For one, we need more non-binary characters in general in media.
Yes.
But we can't just use they, them as the only signifier of a character's non-binariness, because not everyone who's non-binary uses they, them, right? And using the word non-binary is very important too. You know? Like, having those conversations is important. And if you're able to talk about a character having a certain appearance, if you're able to talk about a character being an elf, you can mention the fact that they're non-binary, they're asexual or whatever, and not make it a huge part of the story, but it is a defining part of them as a person.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of queer people, like, when they're writing, they don't want to make a character that is just their identity, which is another annoying kind of thing that happens when people take our identities and, like, this is the trans character, all their problems are trans related.
Yes.
But there's a middle ground between, I don't label myself, we're not going to talk about it, and everything about you is transness, and you have every single traumatic trans experience. And yeah, like, that's completely different. And it's extra different if you're a trans person writing it, as opposed to a cis person who is fascinated by trans trauma and just wants to depict it constantly on screen, you know? Yeah. Yeah, and it becomes, it's a part of you, and neglecting it all the time is frustrating. Especially, yeah. Because there's room for stories where queer identities are marginalized, and there's also a time and place where it just gets frustrating to constantly be marginalized and be like, why does your fantasy world have to be queer phobic? Like, why would you create this?
Totally.
Like, why, like, have a little bit of, like, think a bit, you know, be creative. But then, like,
Totally.
constantly seeing stories, like, in the real world, and just, like, the thing is, like, my experience as a trans person isn't constant overt transphobia. It's a lot of subtle, annoying stuff all the time, and there's also tons of lovely people in my life, but there's also, like, the overt stuff, you know? It's more of a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need queer phobia to be realistic? There are dragons. Yup, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there, we got the rant out
We did
about
Check that off the
labeling
bingo.
identities.
Check that off the bingo
Yeah.
card. Ranting about queer stuff.
Yeah.
Queer theory.
Yeah, it's really frustrating as an asexual person
Oh yeah.
to constantly have characters that could be asexual. Just say it. Just say
Just
it.
say it.
You know? If you have the word Balrog, they can introduce the word asexual. Like it can exist. Those two words can exist. They can coexist. Yeah. There's like this tendency to try and make words that are used to explain queer experiences and say like they're too new, they're too fancy, like they wouldn't fit in, and like you got to realize that is BS.
Yeah.
and like these have worked before.
Yeah.
You know, and people aren't this nitpicky about other words that clearly didn't exist in time periods.
Oh yeah.
It's like, for one, you guys would be speaking Old English, not modern English.
Right.
Or like, yeah, heck off.
Heck off.
Yeah.
And
if you're like
potatoes out of my medieval video games.
Yeah. Well, another thing is like I kind of get tired of like cishet people who are writers who feel like they can come up with better words to describe queer people than queer people do.
Yes.
Where you're just like, oh no, I'm not going to use the word gay. I'm going to make up a better word. It's like, okay, please don't.
Please don't. Please stop.
Please don't. Like, there's a reason people use those words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get making a history for your own world, but like, please don't. We don't need to fantasticalize. Like, we need representation. The fantasy, okay, a very important thing to remember just in general is the fantasy world that you are writing exists in the real world. It is a real world book that has an impact on this world, regardless of like, you can't just be like, it's fantasy, it doesn't matter, it's this, it's that. It's like, no, this book is a real thing that you have written. You are a person. It didn't just spontaneously come into existence. You created this thing, and it can have an effect. Yeah, you made it. You can't just be like, well, it's a fantasy. It's just how it is. Like, no, it it isn't just an actual fantastical thing that appeared. You made it, and media does have an effect, and half the time people are like, realism, you're just parroting dominant culture narratives.
Oh yeah, that aren't
like
even true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Like history is something we look at through a lens.
Oh, totally. It's like how they try to tell you that like there were no people of color before like the 1950s. Like
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like,
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like that's stuff.
it's like, no, that's incorrect. You've just been told a history that's very whitewashed.
For me, it'll just feel right, like a character feels like they lean straight.
Oh, how do you decide a character's sexuality?
Yeah, I just hit randomize.
Yeah.
Yeah, half the time.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'll be like, because it definitely can, depending on like the world they grow up in, it will shape their personality, and it does become something like you need to think about, but don't overthink it too much. Like, when you start like being like, yes, this person feels gay, this person feels straight, it's like, no, like anyone can be gay, anyone can be straight, anyone can be ace, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's the long and the short of it. Is like, just draw from a hat. Yeah, like, honestly, because that's kind of what
Totally.
it's like to have a sexuality.
Yeah. It's kind of
You're
random.
just like, and if you don't tend to diversify, I think it's a great way to start. It's just like, I'm gonna just randomize sexuality and gender identity and see what we get. And
That sounds really fun, actually.
it'll make you like not go on defaults as much.
Totally.
Born This Way was a release and I magically was attracted to women.
It's true.
Nobody would guess I'm ace.
Oh, totally. Like, people assume I'm straight all the time because I have a husband.
Ursula question.
Okay, might it be difficult to answer advice for designing a guard or officer uniforms? A lot of garments are tied to history or army culture. I mean, you can... pulling from, like, historical uniforms, there are certain... Like, I guess you can draw an associated feeling of, like, militariness by, say, like, taking, like, the way, like, the collars of certain uniforms or, like, the designs of certain uniforms. You can kind of, like, really quickly, people will be like, that's a military person, or, like, that's a guard.
I think when you're researching stuff and trying to get influences, a good question to ask is not what things look like, but why things look like they are.
Definitely.
I think when you dig into fashion, just like anything, there's a lot of I guess history into why things look the way they are, and you can learn some interesting things. And I find whenever you find like a very interesting fact, little factoid thing, you can pull on things a lot in like clever ways.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, think about like kind of what they're guarding and who they're guarding from. Like, if there's like, if everyone has like swords and knives, they're
you don't have to go for hyper realism by any means.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have different armor than someone who's has like space lasers, you know?
Yeah. I think I tend to think about this when I'm like creating animals and like ecosystems and stuff. There's the rule of cool, which always comes down to like, you can at the end of the day be like, it's cooler if it looks like this. Like 9 Point. Here's a rule of cool. I don't want the cats wearing helmets.
Yeah.
Because I think helmets look stupid. But like helmets are important in battle. Also, another side, it just becomes difficult to animate the characters and make them different if everyone's wearing helmets.
Totally.
So you can rule of cool. You that's your card where you're just like, it's cooler this way, looks nicer. Corsets were not torture.
Corsets were not torture.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for real.
Corsets being torture is anti-feminist propaganda. Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, corsets being torture is literally Twilight, okay? Pause. But, like, we constantly see a thing that girls like, and we're like, this is actually bad for girls. We need to take it away from them.
Exactly.
And
girls don't know what's good for them.
Yeah, girls don't know what's good for them. They can't look at Twilight and see the negative tropes in it. Corsets are actually bad for them. Yeah. Yeah. That's a constant throughout all of history.
Yes.
How are corsets different from bras? Literally. It's just support.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's because
it's support, it's shaping. It's not even as shaping as padding and stuff was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Corsets are tummy bras. And they're good for like back support.
Yeah.
Like people who wear
slouching.
back braces, we don't be like torture.
Exactly. Totally. It was to get that really smooth look underneath your dress, you know?
Yeah. But men looked at him and be like, it hurt the organs. It did not. That's
only
what
tight lacing.
that not even tight lace. Like, okay, like there are things you can do for organs. But like that is the actual anti-feminist propaganda where corsets were just suddenly demonized and said they were like tight lacing corsets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really hurt.
Yeah.
It was form fitted to you.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Tight lacing is like wearing a binder. Yeah.
It would hurt.
The way that they got the stark curves was by adding padding, not by pushing things in super tightly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are bras more damaging because they don't have much support? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'd be interested to see that. Let's bring back corsets.
Remember when they used to say skinny jeans will make guys sterile?
Yes. Oh my god.
God.
They pad out the chest and hips instead of reducing the waist. Optical illusions, baby. Exactly. Exactly. They put little cushions on their bums and pad their chests. The movies are wrong. Exactly. I love those videos of like how people get dressed in like old-timey fashion. It's my favorite. It's so cool.
Okay, science is up in the air whether or not they can wearing tight pants can lower sperm count. Too much heat can lower sperm count, but not enough to act as a form of birth control. So tight clothes and underwear, in theory, might affect sperm count, but experts think there isn't enough temperature change. I just feel like the anti-tight jeans propaganda probably came from people being like, that's gay.
Where's Fado right now?
In the basement.
Oh, okay. I was like, why is he barking?
Tight waists on pants, not on the legs, obviously. I feel like tight pants are crushing my organs. Corsets are just high pants that people wear now.
Oh, yeah.
All the people who wear high pants are just corsets.
Yes.
I read a great story. Like, speaking of like fashion history, I was looking into mourning attire.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great letter. Like you're supposed to wear black, and like you're supposed to wear it for a certain amount of days, depending on like who it is in your family who died.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a letter that this lady wrote. I forget to whom, but she wrote that she is so annoyed that her cousin died because she had just bought a whole bunch of new spring clothes that she was really excited to wear, and now all she gets to wear is black. And she's just very upset about it.
How dare my cousin go and die?
She's like, I barely knew her. Like,
it's amazing.
Now I have to wear I don't get to wear these new dresses that I want. Like, that'd be so annoying.
Oh, for real. And then they would be out of fashion by the time you're allowed to wear them. Oh, the audacity. Right?
Stop. I'm killing you on stream. Carving Fado like a pumpkin.
But yeah. Anyways, that was our rant on historical fashion. So we are at the 2-hour mark.
Yay, I can leave.
Okay, I guess we will wrap it up here.
I'm sleepy, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this lovely Halloween night. I guess it's day, but you know, Halloween. Hallows Eve. Yeah, and we will see you again on Twitch on Monday. And if you don't want to go to Twitch at all, we will be here Thursday, I think, on YouTube.
So, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Anyways,
Monday videos, right?
Oh, true. Videos may be returning. Rumor has it. So yeah, thanks guys. Happy Halloween. Stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Stay inside. Goodbye.